What's going on, my friends? This is Jack, and welcome to It Pays to Write, a show where we break down simple writing skills and systems that can help you build digital leverage and level up in your career, business, personal brand, and more. Whether you're a remote 9-to-5er, freelancer, founder, or aspiring writer, we've got something here for you. Let's dive in. Our guest today on It Pays to Write is Jennifer Chou. She's also known by her friends as the Vegan Tech Nomad or the Unhinged Life Tracking Girl. Her content is awesome. Jennifer is now a full-time creator, but she was just previously employed as a company's growth marketer. What's so interesting about Jennifer's story is while she was employed at this company, she blew up their TikTok account by posting 5 videos a day there. And what was so smart on her part is she saw the writing on the wall and was like, hey, this is my company's TikTok account. I'm growing this audience, but I don't get to keep any of this. So she started posting her own TikTok videos and cross-posting them to Instagram. Shortly after, she accumulated 80,000 plus followers on Instagram. She now has a total audience of well over 100,000 people. And it's a good thing she built that because not long after she was laid off from her company, but she could lean on and tap into her own personal brand. Jennifer then, shortly after, launched her first course and was able to make up her monthly salary in 24 hours of course sales. And from then on out, she has been a full-time creator. I learned so much about her video creation process, her approach to marketing, and all of the cool things that she's doing, teaching, and helping her audience with. So without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with my friend, Jennifer Chou. Hey, everybody out there. I am super excited to record today's episode because this is with somebody who I've been a fan of for around a year now and have already learned so much from. I would say she's probably one of the most data-driven marketers and content creators I have come across on the web, but I don't need to introduce her. I will let her introduce herself and talk a little bit about her mission, what she's doing. So Jennifer, go ahead and take it away. Tell us about what you're doing, how you kind of got started on this creator mission. It seems like it's been this incredible whirlwind of an experience for you.
Yeah, so I am Jennifer, also known as Vegan Tech Nomad on all socials. Actually, I have some drama on the name if you want to hear the story.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I tell the story to every podcast guest because it's just so entertaining. But my ex-boyfriend at the time, when I made this account and I changed my username to Vegan Tech Nomad, he hated that username. We got in a big fight over it because I was like, I don't want to change it. I like it. And he's like, no, this is a dumb username. You're not going to grow. And I don't know why he was so mad about the username. Nothing against him. It was an amicable breakup. But then during that call, he was like, well, if we can't decide on this, let's just break up then. And
Whoa.
it was a really bad fight. So spoiler alert, a few months after that, we did break up, amicably, nothing against him. It was just it was fine. And a few months after that, I blew up on Instagram, had my viral videos as Vegan Tech Nomad. I don't know how he feels about it because we haven't spoken since, but that's the story. And the viral video was all about my life tracking because I tracked my life 24/7, literally every second of my time, all my work documentation. And I guess people like that level of unhingedness. Some people actually followed me for my poop tracking because I tracked that as well. So I had a few students enroll in my life tracking course, and they said that the reason they enrolled was because of my poop tracking. But then what they actually got was a bunch of therapy vibes to help them improve their limiting beliefs and stuff.
Wow, I had no idea because when I saw you posting the poop tracker, I was like, this is so creative and hilarious. And I think that's why it worked for you. It was something, there was nothing in my feed that was anything close to that. And I'm sure people saw that and they were like, this girl is real. She's legitimately talking about poop tracking as an aspect of her health, which is so funny. Okay, so we're going to jump around a little bit here. I really want to get into the community that you're building right now and your mission. But we were just talking about before the show a little bit about how you got here in the first place. So you were working for a company and then all of a sudden, you started to pursue this creator path. So yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was hired at this company. Actually, they low-key kind of poached me from my own startup because it was kind of the same niche. And I joined this company. I was the growth marketer and I had to grow the company. And the way that I did that was through TikTok. The videos that I made were so bad. I look back on them and I'm like, no, I wish nobody saw these. But that's the beauty when you're just starting out with an account with 0 followers, is that you can post whatever. Like, I don't think that many people are gonna see it. Now at like 80K followers, I'm like kind of scared to post whatever now. But back then I was just like spam posting on my company TikTok. I didn't know what I was doing. We eventually blew up after like months of on and off daily posting. I posted up to 5 times a day, and some of the videos were like, it was like 2 seconds though, like just half of my face and text on screen. And I did some hook testing, which I can talk more about later because I tracked the data from that. So we blew up, and I was like, dang, I wish I did this for myself, like my personal brand, because like if I leave the company, this is their account. Like the amount of followers that I grew by, like all the views, like that's theirs, that's not mine, even if my face is all over that account. So then I started posting more on my stuff, but nothing really took off. And then I actually scheduled my TikToks onto Instagram and kind of forgot about it. But one of those scheduled posts went viral. Like I had 2 or 3 videos go viral back to back. And that kind of kickstarted my creator journey while I was still working at that company. But then I was laid off from the company, and then I was traveling, so I couldn't really find another job while I was traveling. So I just decided to go all in on my own creator business. So thank goodness I built that up before I was laid off. And I actually built my course in like a few weeks after I was laid off, or like literally the week I was laid off, I like started building my course and launched within 2 weeks. And I used to make 6,000 Canadian dollars per month with my company. And I remember on the course launch deadline, the first time I ever launched the course, I made that amount, like 6,000 in one day. I was like, what the heck?
Whoa.
I feel like corporate culture is like such a scam now. And then that's why I'm like trying to help other business people and like hopefully inspire and motivate them too.
Wow, that is honestly incredible. Like I remember reading you, I think you wrote about this, and that's how I found it through LinkedIn and talking about that. What was that moment like to see you actually had like $6,000 sitting in an account, like a month's salary worth? That's wild. In a day.
Yeah. To be honest, I was actually discouraged before that because before that deadline day, like the deadline to enroll in my course, I wasn't making as many sales. So I was really discouraged. I was kind of like focusing on this all or nothing thinking. Again, this is like a mindset thing where, you know, I was making money and I should have been grateful, but I was just stressed out because I'm like, you know, I'm traveling right now. I got laid off. Like, what am I going to do? And then the deadline day approached and I hit that 6K in a day. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like people were still like stuck and unhappy in their corporate jobs. And I made this in one day. Like that was such a world changing, like belief shadowing moment for me. And it shows the importance of really celebrating every little win because I had the exact same feeling. Actually, I think I felt even better the first $300 that I made online. Like 300 versus 6,000, like 300 isn't much, right? But that was like the first $300 from a sponsor. And now I'm like, okay, $300, I would not accept that. But back then it was so big for me. I was so happy. I was like screaming in my room. I have YouTube videos of me screaming because I just wanted to share with everybody. And I think now I feel like I'm so numb to the, like, you know, I get $300 is whatever, but I need to remember to go back and celebrate those wins because that's what's going to keep me going.
100%. That's such a great reminder. I was trying to take a shot at the creator business in my 20s, and I was selling health and fitness courses, which is a shared passion of both of ours. And I remember the first time I saw a transaction come through that somebody purchased my course. I think it was for like $50. And I was on a just like short weekend trip with some friends, and I just got chills when I saw the email come through. I was like, somebody wanted to pay me, a nobody, $50 for things that I knew about, I don't know, kettlebell training or something like that. It's a wild experience, isn't it? When you get that kind of like validation, you kind of have some like imposter syndrome a little bit too. Yeah. How did you, so you said that the first 300 was more impactful than the 6,000 because it was like the first. Now do you feel like you've kind of gotten used to like, okay, this is a business I'm running. People are purchasing things from me that I'm creating and see value in.
Yeah, it's part of that is like the external validation. It's like I feel like nobody, because there are some things in this world that are just so obvious to me, like my tracking, my documentation. I'm like, okay, this is so easy, this is so obvious, but that's just me. Like for other people, they're like, how do you do this? This is so cool. So for me to charge for this stuff, I wasn't very confident in it. So as soon as I got that external validation, like, wow, people are actually paying me for that stuff, it gave me more confidence, which is why, the $300, I was like, okay, this is kind of nothing now because it's a sign of growth. But then I also have to be careful not to rely too much on that external validation because as a creator, sometimes people will leave nasty comments. Like there's this one time when I posted about being like really kind of undercharging. Like somebody offered me a really low amount for a video. And I was like, okay, is this normal now? Like this is kind of BS. Like, am I seeing things? Like what's going on? And then everybody in the comments were like, oh, you should just be grateful you're getting paid. Like this isn't a real job. Like I would do it for free, or like I have more followers than you, but I would still accept this amount. I think it was like a few hundred or like $100 per video, which is like insanely low.
Oh, yeah.
And people were commenting all of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I didn't have, like, if I just relied on external validation, I would have like undercharged myself and like, overworked myself, gotten burnt out. But because I had like the confidence and security and experience, I was like, okay, these commenters don't know what they're talking about. And then I also had a community of other creators who were able to kind of support me because they're like, yeah, these commenters are not in the industry. They don't know how much you can actually make as a creator.
Gosh, that's so important too. I think about this all the time of we live in an era where so many people are seeking external validation. Like that's 100% of their motivation is like, how many people liked my post? How many people commented? Are people sharing this? What kind of hateful comments are people posting? And then they let that go to their head and they change their entire mission and purpose around something great that they were doing around either really negative or really positive external factors. And I think you lose your sense of self and your own identity along the way if you're buying into that. So I'm so glad to hear that you back yourself and validate yourself in pursuing all of this and helping people. One thing that I wanted to ask you about, because I think this is so important, I've seen this a lot. I mean, we both see this a lot on LinkedIn of like, people think that there's this overnight success thing that happens. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, Jennifer, you just said your combined audience, and I want to make sure I understand this, is 80,000 people? Or is that on a single platform? Is that on Instagram where you kind of started all of this?
No, that's just Instagram. Combined audience is more than that, I think.
That's awesome. Yeah, how many subscribers do you have right now on your Beehive? Because that's kind of like one of your hubs that you're running, right? Okay.
Yeah, so on my newsletter, I have 11K subscribers, and then my business newsletter, which is smaller, because I only do like LinkedIn promotion. I don't do like video-based promotion. So the discovery is a bit harder. That one, the smaller one, is around 700 subscribers. So I guess it's like 11.7K subscribers total.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So we're talking about like in the neighborhood of 100,000 followers. Most of this has been accumulated inside of the last year. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's amazing. And I think what people like might take away from this, especially for people who are listening to this, who might be brand new to writing, posting content, creating it, they're in the trenches working on this right now. I think they're like, man, I just need to like have that one video that pops off and gets to 10,000, impressions or 100,000 impressions. But I want to go back to what you said about like you were working to develop these skills with your company's TikTok account. And it sounds like you posted hundreds of videos there before they started like really picking up in the feed, and then you redid the same for yourself. What was that period of time like? And how many videos did you post before you kind of hit that first viral video clipping point? Just to see and give people an idea of like, this is the actual work that went behind the scenes and the reps and the volume that went into hitting this inflection point.
Yeah, I was actually in social media marketing for probably around a decade or so, but that wasn't like short form video. That was just like social media in general. And the viral videos do feel like overnight success, but it's like I couldn't have found that viral video if I didn't like improve my video editing skills. So I started posting for my company account, and then like I think after around 3 months of on and off, almost daily posting, which is like I posted hundreds of videos before, a few viral ones, but this was when I didn't do any research. I was just like posting randomly. I think I could have been a lot faster if I researched kind of the viral videos, what kind of messaging resonates with my audience. But a lot of it was just testing. So it took like probably 3 months of daily posting. And that is when I improved a lot. Like you have to look at the previous videos and then like improve on it. Because when I tried to do it for my personal brand, I actually started with vlogs, like running vlogs, because it was easiest for me. I just have to film my training, running, all of that stuff, and that's it. You can tell there's a big difference from the very first vlog to the last vlog, like 2 or 3 months later. And I did this like every day, but I went viral a few times, but it wasn't like viral enough to get me a ton of followers. So I ended up not pursuing the running thing. I changed my niche to something that was a lot easier to film. And the running part was very, like, you could see the improvement in the video. So even though I didn't go viral, like, I feel like my camera confidence and my video editing got better. Because, like, I started not being confident on camera. It was so awkward. I started with the voiceover on the vlogs, and then I was able to do, like, camera for my work. And then I pivoted to, like, camera, like, for my personal brand. And I had to try all sorts of different niches. Like, I wanted to do travel and vegan food content, but it was so hard to edit the videos, so I never did it. And I looked at my work life and I was like, wow, I pump out these videos like every day so easy because it's just me filming my face and then me filming my laptop screen. So I was like, why don't I do that for my personal life? So it was very much on and off. I would say it took a year of like 3 months posting and then break, and then another 3 months and then break before my work account went viral. And now we have like 80K followers. But nobody posts on that account anymore. So
you were the person running it. They didn't hand that off to anybody. That's so important. Well, I guess you were the face of it. So it would have been hard for them to be like, hey, now we've got a new marketing person to cover this.
Yeah, no, the new marketing person, I don't think they had time to do all of that. And I also had a few people recognize me. Like when I was posting on my personal brand and I went viral there, a few people were like, hey, you're that girl who was like doing this other stuff before, like on my work account. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And then everybody was so supportive. They were like, oh, it's so awesome to see you grow on your own too, which was really nice to hear.
That's so cool. That is seriously so cool. I really appreciate you sharing the amount of reps and time that you put into doing this, because I really think that it's so easy for people to get caught up into like, I just need to post one thing and it'll go viral. Or even people have the expectation, right, of like, oh, the first thing I post, because I watch a bunch of TikTok videos or Instagram videos, like this thing is going to go crazy. And then 5 of your friends watch it. And that's it. And I think people really do underestimate the number of posts and number of minutes and hours that you spend editing video to like figure out what you're doing, what your audience wants. And like you said, you were improving upon every single video you were doing. Like I know how analytical you are, and I'm sure you were looking back at your analytics. And I've seen the great posts that you have about split testing, like split testing your like headlines or video titles and stuff like that. I'm sure you were doing that meticulously in the process.
But actually, I feel like a lot of it was based on vibes. It's not like I have a spreadsheet where I'm like logging everything down. I only analyze if there's an outlier and it's something that I'm like, okay, I want to make a post about this so other people can do it. That's when I have to like clean up everything and make it presentable. But usually I just check my account. I'm like, okay, this video I thought would do well. It didn't. Like, why? Like, should I remake it with a different hook? And like this other video, like it did very well. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I could like use something here for some of my other videos. And I said this to my friend too. He was making a lot of videos where he thought he had to be a certain way because he was looking at other influencers and they had that green screen and they were like talking to the camera. So he was like, oh, maybe I have to do that. But you could tell the energy was not there because it felt like work. And he's like, I want to pump out a video every day, but this is just so painful. This is so difficult. And I was like, dude, chill. Like, just be yourself and like show your natural energy. And he really took that to heart because he asked a bunch of people, including me, for feedback, and he like detached himself from that external validation. So he was really able to see how he can improve. And once he started having fun with it, that was like the big switch because he messaged me like, oh my gosh, Jennifer, like I made like 10 videos today. It was so fun. It didn't even take that much time because he was enjoying it so much. And then some of those videos got like 5 million views, 2 million views, and he grew by thousands of followers. Like his phone was blowing up. And he was like, Jennifer, it's all because I followed your advice and I was like being myself. And I was like, okay, this is the most basic advice ever, but somehow it works.
You're totally right. Like there's this, I feel like there's been this movement kind of growing over the past few years where the content and like, I mean, we can look at it from a performance aspect, but I think a cultural thing that's very cool too is like authenticity and vulnerability are like winning the content game, because anybody can find prescriptive advice on, hey, do this, don't do that. Here's what the top 10 best of fill in the blank thing are doing about this. But think about what you said a while ago of like you were vulnerable about posting like your poop tracker for your health is something that we were talking about. And I think that's the kind of stuff. I mean, that's maybe an edge case example, but like you gave such great advice to your friend because you said, hey man, be yourself, do the thing that you enjoy. And I think that radiates through a video because it shows people somebody who's passionate and enthusiastic about what you're doing. So now tell me a little bit from your perspective about how you're channeling you through what you're doing right now, kind of like scratching your own itch and just having fun with your own content creation.
Yeah, so I'm usually a person who loves sharing. And whenever beginner content creators come to me for help, they're like, I'm too shy to share my videos. I'm like, and I ask them, like, what are you passionate about? And then they start talking a lot about whatever topic they like. I'm like, okay, just do that same thing, but on video. But it's still intimidating. So like, we have to really break it down. I'm like, okay, just film a video and talk about it. You don't even have to post the video. Just like save it in your camera roll for later. And then you just go step by step, because I went from like being so uncomfortable on camera to like very camera confident, because like first of all I started with the voiceover with the vlogs, and then I moved into just like showing my face with music, so I didn't even have to talk, and I just like combined those two, like voiceover and then like showing my face, into like just talking on camera. And that's how I took it step by step. And it, like, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, especially if you take away all the fears. Like if you don't want to post it, just don't post it. And I remember it took me, I think, a year all in all, because I was like busy with work and other stuff, to really be camera confident and like show my natural energy, because I also didn't have any coaching or community or like anyone helping me. I just had to figure it out on my own. And I did not do research because I actually don't like admin work. So it took me a lot longer. And there was one recent video that I had where I was just like, it wasn't even related to my niche. I was just excited about a jacket that I had, and the jacket had a hole in the back. And I just figured out that the hole was for my ponytail. And I was so excited about finding that out that I was like, I need to share this with people. So I filmed a video, and that video blew up, even though it's just me talking about my jacket. And then people were like, I love your energy. Like, I don't care about jackets, but like the energy here is really good. So it's just getting into the habit of being uncomfortable and turning on the camera if there's something that I'm really excited about.
I think those are such great pieces of advice, because people can see if you are or aren't excited about a topic that you're speaking to. And once again, it goes back to like enthusiasm and passion and vulnerability, and something as small as, like you said, so was it like a hoodie that had a hole for like your ponytail through the back? Is that what it was? That's super cool. I mean, there's so many great things about that idea, because people just want to see, like, you have a bigger audience now, and people just want to see like who Jennifer is in her normal life too, and the things that she's excited about. Yeah, go for it.
That video was not even posted on TikTok, because like it wasn't posted on Instagram, because my Instagram following is 80K. My TikTok following is probably only like, it was 5,000 at the time. Okay. So I was like kind of scared to post anything not related to the niche on Instagram. So I used TikTok as my testing ground, and anything that performs well there, I will cross post to Instagram, YouTube, etc., which are my bigger platforms. So I didn't even post that on Instagram, and then it just took off, and then I gained like hundreds of followers from that one post.
That's amazing. That is incredible. Like, okay, and here's something I'm really curious about too, because you have solidified a presence on so many different platforms right now. And I think that's something that's tough for like new creators, new writers, experienced creators and writers to do, is like, a lot of people are like, what platform should I post on? Like, should I be doing videos? Should I be doing writing? Like, what's going on with like carousels and threads? And should I do short form or long form? Like, what's the deal here? Tell me a little bit about your system as a creator. Like, everybody has some way to synthesize content to help save time. Like, I'm really interested to hear about like how you start from the idea of a topic and then how that eventually becomes a newsletter, short form video, long form video, and what you do from there. I think that'd be super helpful for people.
Yeah, so I have a very manual process. It's not for everybody. So basically what I do is every time I get an idea, like if I'm talking to a friend or talking to someone and I'm like, okay, this would be really good and beneficial to share with everybody, I'll just write it down in my Notion. It's a very messy document because it has like all of my ideas. And then every Friday and every Monday, I have my newsletters that I send out. So Friday is my business ones and Monday is my productivity, like my main brand. And so literally the day before each newsletter is supposed to be sent out, I will be writing the newsletter and I'm just picking like a random topic that I'm like, okay, this week maybe I'll write about this. And I read it in less than 30 minutes because it's a pretty short newsletter. I know I should be repurposing that content to all the other platforms, but I don't really do it. Like email is kind of special. A lot of people feel like it's very authentic because like I don't really use AI to write anything. And then if I want to be posting on TikTok, on Threads and what's the other one? Twitter/X/LinkedIn, like the text-based platforms, I will be writing it out manually and then like posting or scheduling it immediately on the platform. Like I will literally copy paste everything. Because if I feel like I'm trying to over optimize it by like scheduling and like cross posting, it's gonna, like, I'm just not gonna do it. So I just do the text-based platforms manually for now. The video-based ones is where I'm most familiar. So because TikTok makes it so easy to make videos. Like they'll slap on the music for you automatically. I just do everything on TikTok. And then if it does well, then I would be downloading the videos. And then I use a scheduling tool called Metricool, and it just like schedules it out to Instagram and YouTube. So when my video didn't take off on TikTok, the one about life tracking, I was like, I know there's something here. Let me post this again. And I posted it multiple times. It didn't take off. And I was like, no, I know there's still something here because I thought it was cool. My friends all thought it was cool. So then that's when I scheduled it to Instagram and I think YouTube. And they went viral on Instagram. So it's like I focus on TikTok, but then I still schedule it out to kind of increase my surface area for luck, because sometimes videos that flop on Instagram or TikTok will go viral on YouTube, and then I get a bunch of subscribers to my YouTube and to my newsletter.
That's amazing. And that's amazing. And from here, I want to talk about, because we've kind of talked about these like top funnel ways and like your ideas for how you create this. The first thing I want to ask is, you have, actually our creative processes are pretty similar. Like I just have a Notion doc where every month I open a fresh one and I drop in new ideas, and I'm drowning in topic ideas because the more I read, the more podcasts I listen to, the more cool people I follow on LinkedIn. I probably come up with 2 to 3 new post ideas a day, but I only post like 5 to 7 times a week. So by the end of a month, I have 100 like topics just dropped in Notion. Tell me a little bit about how you decide, or if you use different topics on different, like, will you take a topic for the week that you're interested in, or like a conversation you had with a friend you mentioned, and will you be thinking like, okay, I need like this could be an email campaign, this could definitely be like some LinkedIn posts, this could be an Instagram video, or do you use different ideas for different pieces of content throughout the week?
Usually it's very vibes based. So like if I'm talking to a friend about something and I'm like, I want to talk about this more, like I'll film a video about it and post it. If I'm like, it's like the day before my newsletter is supposed to go out, I'm like, okay, what can I write about today? And then I just write it. If it's like something that I'm like, oh, I feel like this would be a good LinkedIn post, or I feel like people on LinkedIn, Threads, Twitter would appreciate this, then I just like write it and then immediately post it, or like immediately schedule it. So it's really like in the moment inspiration.
That's cool.
And then if I end up being very inspired to make multiple posts, then I would just schedule them out. So it looks like I'm consistent, but it's really just like one moment of inspiration.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you can easily, I'm sure, in a sitting, Like, you're fired up from a conversation or something you read or something you watched, and you could have like a week's worth of posts just like that off of a topic. That's really cool. And that helped people save a lot of time too, of course. I love the idea you keep bringing up of like vibes-based content creation, because I think, we've kind of been talking about people try to put themselves in this box of like, oh, I have to do this specific thing in this specific way to do it. But like with your friend who you helped out with his own content creation, you told them basically, hey man, follow the good vibes. Like, what are you interested in? What do you want to post about? Like, show yourself. Have you ever thought about creating a like product or course around like vibes-based content marketing for people? I think that, dude, you would crush it at teaching something like that. People would love it.
Yeah, the issue with that is that some people are very different. Like some people need the structure.
Sure.
For me, like I prefer not to have too much structure. So everybody's different. And in my life tracking course, it's basically like creating a system for your life, not just business stuff. And that system is like up to you. Like I'll teach you how I do it, but it's like also you can pick and choose from the pieces to build around your life, because your life might also change. Like you might move or get married, start a family, etc. So like based on those life changes, you need to be able to build a system for yourself that kind of fits that lifestyle. So it's more about teaching the skill to know what's best for you instead of like a specific system.
That's great. That makes total sense. And speaking of that, I want to talk to you about, like we were talking about entrepreneurship before the call, and you and I have messaged back and forth some about this. I love your passion for entrepreneurship, and I know it's something that you're really stoked to talk about. Tell me about your entrepreneurial goals right now and how you're pursuing them.
Yeah, I think the main goal is basically just to help more and more people. And I was thinking like, because right now I'm mainly targeting just individuals. And I was thinking maybe I should focus more on business owners, because that's a way you can impact even more people. Because if I help business owners and then they have their businesses will help even more people. So it's like network effect. So I'm actually thinking of pivoting my messaging on my life tracking stuff to be more business owner focused, because I've had a few students come up to me after the course and they're like, hey, based on the time and the insights that I got from your course, because like they save a lot of time after implementing these systems, they end up getting new clients or they end up having the time to start their own businesses. So I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. Like I should focus on like ADHD business owners / creators instead of just individuals, because I would really like to see a world where everybody has their own business that doesn't stress them out, where we can all just buy from each other in a community instead of buying from really big corporations that probably underpay people and like don't really care about their employees or their customers. So that's kind of like the direction I'm leaning towards.
That's really cool. So kind of positioning from the B2C play to like, hey, can we get my life tracking systems and tools in the hands of people within businesses to help them improve their life? And while we're on that too, tell me about, and I should have started here, tell me about your products and offerings you have right now, who they're for, what they help people do. Because I love your mission and I want people to know about it.
Yeah, so it's also kind of chaotic. I feel like that's my brand at this point, because the shiny object syndrome is so bad. Like after I finish a project, I'll jump onto the other one and then lose interest and jump onto a new one. And I'm trying to like calm down and focus now. Which I talked to another ADHD founder and he said it's very easy once you're very clear on your mission. And I think I really had to get clear on that mission of like helping other people with their businesses to help even more people. And so my first ever product was my Notion templates. It was like very, very low ticket and it did pretty well. But then after I was laid off, I made a life tracking course, which it was very interesting because the launch price was like $199, and then everybody was messaging me like, hey, can I have a discount? That's too expensive. And then I increased the price to $299, still got those messages, but this time I was like, okay, fine, here's a discount code. That brought the price back down to $199. And this was like during the first few cohorts. Like I don't do that anymore. But after I gave them the coupon, people were like, oh, thank you. And there were no more complaints. And I was like, wait, but weren't you guys just saying that $199 is too expensive? Like it's all psychology.
You're totally right. They just want to see $299 and a slash through it and a $199 next to it. And they're like, wow, I can get that much. I can get 30% off. Is that what it was? I'm sure.
Yeah, and then not only that, I also added payment plans, and I
Mm,
think that helped because it made it more manageable. And I'm not a fan of like increasing the price just because somebody splits up the payment plans, even though I'm pretty sure some people like cancel, so they pay basically one third of the price. But I'm like, whatever, I don't want to like punish people who have to take the payment plan.
mm,
But that's my main offering, my life tracking course. I made the most from it. I can, like, I have graphs on the conversion rates and like how much money I made from it per cohort and all of that. But I got kind of bored of the life tracking stuff. So I was like, okay, let me do like ADHD content creation. So I ran a high ticket, very high touch live cohort on that in January, where I was hopping on calls with people pretty much every day for hours, just like kind of helping them script and make content. I remember one person paid me $2,000 for that and like only showed up for one call. And we had lots and lots of calls. And I was like, okay, I hope you're still getting value from this. I hope she watched the recordings. But that was mind blowing to me that somebody could pay $2,000 and then not show up to the calls.
mm-hmm.
And then after that, I turned that into a recorded course, like ADHD content creation. And I sold that for a lot cheaper. So the early bird price was $99.
Mm-hmm.
And I was filming stuff for that course while I was traveling in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a cute cafe with a cat, and I filmed it there because the background was so aesthetic. That was a good time. And then now I'm like, I should focus back on the life tracking stuff because when I looked at the data, what was in my head, like what the vibes were versus what the actual numbers were was so different because I was thinking that people would be more willing to pay for the business side of things. So like ADHD content creation. But then I look at the numbers, I'm like, wait, I made a lot more money from the life tracking stuff instead of the business stuff. So that's why I have to track stuff because the numbers don't lie. And I can't
Mm-hmm.
just trust my vibes sometimes.
That's really interesting. Gosh, there's so many questions I have for you here. So, and to make sure I'm getting all this right, you were basically testing, you had your Notion templates that you were selling. And just so I don't miss that, what were the templates and what were you selling them for? Just so people can know.
There's a few. So my most popular one is the work documentation one. That was like $10. I also have a life tracking one. That one was 25, but I've experimented with the pricing quite a bit, like 40, $1, 15, but like I landed on 25. And there are a few other ones here and there. Like I have an all-in-one template that has like everything, like my Notion homepage. I think that one is like 20 to 40, something like that. But I've
Okay,
only
that's
made a few thousand from my templates.
okay. Gosh, that's still really impressive. Like a few $1,000. I mean, like to some people listening to this who may have like a couple hundred connections on like LinkedIn or their friends as followers on Instagram, like that's pretty impressive, a few $1,000s in templates. And so then you move from there to, you were kind of moving to like a cohort based thing and talking to people and like consulting and having calls and stuff, which was super high ticket, you said. How long did you do that for? How did that perform? And then what was that transition to like, hey, I could just put this in courses? Like, because I'm sure what you learned in the cohorts informed the course creation process, right?
Yeah, so that was from January to like mid-March, early
Mm-hmm.
March of this year. And through the live conversations, I think I thought people were there for the tactics, like the hook testing and like this is how you get the TikTok algorithm to notice you and things like that. But what I noticed is that there were a lot of like low-key therapy stuff that I had to unpack first. So like there's the fear of being judged, there's like limiting beliefs, like being scared to post, all of that stuff. And I had to really sit down with people and kind of unpack that and then help people find their purpose so that they can get energy from posting instead of feeling like it's draining. So
Mm-hmm.
when I did the asynchronous version of the course, I made it very like mindset focused and like they still had to do stuff. Like they still had to make videos, whether they posted them or not. But a lot of it was about unpacking limiting beliefs and like getting people to be more confident in themselves. And I had a comment where somebody said that they loved the therapy vibes of it because it kind of like impacted their life even outside of business and stuff. But for people who are just like looking for tactics, there are still tactics, but from my experience, everybody loved the mindset stuff way more than the tactics stuff. So like, even though I included both, it was like the mindset that was the most important. And it was the same for my life tracking course. Like, people loved finding their purpose and their values way more. And there was a student who was a content creator. Before the course, he was making content and he was like, I'm so burnt out, I don't want to do this. After the course, he was making content and he's like, this is fun, life is like a game. And I was like, wait, weren't you making and scheduling content? Like, the task was the same before and after the course. So I asked him, like, what changed to make it more enjoyable for you? And he said it was just the mindset.
That's incredible. And gosh, this is such a powerful subject, because I think there are a lot of people listening to this and all over the internet, only, gosh, what is it? Like 0.5% of people or less actually create some kind of content. And like 99+%, billions of people are just consuming. But I think the majority of people who we've seen in the data have in their minds, like, I would love to be a creator. I would love to be a writer. I would love to have more autonomy and freedom over my life, or do this on the side for fun. And I think you're so right about it's so many mindset reservations that people have. Like, how is my stuff going to be different than anybody else's? It's all already been said. Nobody knows me. Like, I'm not cool enough to do this. I'm not smart enough. There are people way more credentialed or educated than me here. And like, before somebody even gets to the technical aspect that you teach them, they have 100 reservations in their mind that they have to overcome. How do you address your specific audience? Like, and I'm curious to even know the material breakdown of this in your course. How much time do you, like, how long is the course, like, total in terms of like hours, resources, whatever? And then what percentage of the time do you address in the beginning, like, hey, here's how you can overcome some of these mental barriers?
Yeah, so every one of my courses is 30, like the asynchronous courses, they're all 30-ish days, so like 4 weeks. The first week is very focused on like setting the direction. So like your purpose, your values, your like reason for existing on earth, like what you're really working towards, and also getting rid of limiting beliefs. So I go through this thing called the 5 whys analysis, which is taken from data science and data analysis. But a lot of people loved it because they're like, oh my gosh, I just feel so seen right now. Where I basically asked them to like name something that they've been stuck on and ask themselves why at least 5 times. So some people would be like, oh, I don't have time to study. Like, I just scroll on my phone. Or like, I don't have time to work on my own business. And then they keep asking themselves why. And then by the time they answer and then ask why again, and then they get to the last why, it's usually some kind of insecurity, or like, for example, perfectionism, having people tell them that they can't do it, or like tell them themselves they can't do it. So that's when they finally realize, like, oh, it's not just because they're lazy or because they don't have time. It's actually because of this underlying limiting belief that they have. So once they realize that, then we work towards their goals and their values. And then we start tracking. So like week 2 is all about life tracking. So habits, daily journaling, time tracking, all of that stuff. And once they start tracking, it's like you look back on your week and you look back on your month, and it's like, wait, the beliefs about themselves were not that accurate. Like, there's a lot of catastrophizing, fear of failure, all or nothing thinking, where they're like, I didn't do anything this week. But then they look back on the reflections that they wrote throughout the week, and it's like, wait, I actually had a lot of wins. And then they start feeling better about themselves, which makes them more excited to keep doing whatever they're doing. Then week 3 is more about like the tactics, like the task management, because like after they have that foundation of like building the mindset and like tracking to actually see the impact that their thinking has on their actions, then it goes into like organization, to-do lists. And then week 4 is more like how to reflect on your tracking, how to not get distracted and stay focused and things like that.
That's way cool. So it's a 4-week process, you said, that kind of the course takes them through. How much time are each one of those like modules, like the daily lessons for them, or like the weekly video? Like, is most of it video based, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so every single day they have like a short under 5-minute video, and you don't even need to watch the video because I try and make it super accessible. Like, there's subtitles so you can watch at 2 times speed. You don't even need to have the audio. Like, you can literally watch on the bus or something. There's also a transcript. There's also like action items. So like if you don't watch the video, you don't read the transcript, all you have to do is like check off the action item. And when you check it off, there's this super satisfying sound. And every time in the community, people are like, this sound is so satisfying. It makes me look forward to completing my daily action items. And then the community also helps because when you see other people doing their work, you're more compelled to do yours. And there's like just fun stuff to do every day. Like for the 5 whys analysis that I mentioned, they have to like write that down in a Google Slides presentation. And then you just, every day you build upon that presentation. And at the end, you have this completed presentation of all the work you've done for the course. And in the past, I ran live sessions where students could present everything that they've learned. And people loved that so much because they just loved sharing and like seeing their growth.
That's so cool. So would you host a kind of like a live video call with like everybody who is taken the course or in the cohort and be like, hey, we've got a handful of people who are going to present. That's so powerful. Community, I think, is a huge missing element, especially in like the entrepreneurial, solopreneurship, solo creator realms, because it's so easy to just kind of get horse blinders on and get in the zone and go nose to grindstone like, hey, I'm going to do this myself. And I think community is I know it's been a huge missing thing in my life, and that's why LinkedIn's been so important for me, is just to nerd out with like-minded people about all of the fun things that they're doing. What do you use to host your community, or how do you have everybody connected?
Yeah, so I use a platform called Experientify, and it's my course platform. It's very gamified. There's badges, leaderboards, the cute sounds when you check off the action items. So that's where everything is, like my course, my community. And then after they complete the course, they can join a Discord community to stay connected with the other students and like to get reminders to do their reflections and stuff. But I think that's pretty much it. Usually people stay up to date on my emails as well. They call that a community too, because they hear from me like every week, and like some people reply to the email or vote in the polls and leave comments.
That's amazing. And I'm so curious to hear too, because you're engineering so many important things into course creation and product creation that I think people miss, like the fact that you're thinking down to the gratification of clicking a button and what happens afterward. Like I use Asana for a lot of organization, and when I click that button and that unicorn like flies across the screen, it's like a really gratifying thing. And like how did you start thinking about that for yourself and other people, of like, hey, we need to be thinking about the big scale, like what are gonna make people successful, but down to like the little engineering or like design nuances of like, hey, I'm going to give this people wins. How did you start thinking about that when you were creating content?
Yeah, so I have a psychology and UX background, so I'm very focused on the user experience. It's not perfect, but I have a whole process for how I make the course. And like the first step is always to hop on a call with some people. So I'll email my entire email list and be like, hey, does anybody want to chat with me about your problems with this, like getting organized or like whatever niche that I'm making the course in? And then I'll talk to them, see what they're struggling with. And then I'll outline each module and assignment or like action item that they have to do based on those problems. And I also use this thing called the Zeigarnik effect, which I teach in the course as well, because you can use this in your personal life to kind of get yourself to do something. But basically what that is the things that are unfinished are remembered more. So it's things like progress bars. When you see that progress bar, you feel compelled to like just complete whatever it is you're doing. So when you subscribe to my email list, you get shown this page after you put in your email, and there's like a progress bar where it's like you put in your email, you read this page, and then the next step is to check your email for a fun surprise that I just sent to your inbox. And I try and make it super easy. Like there's a button that they can go directly to their email. There's like a bunch of like psychology hacks that just like make it easy and fun and exciting to take whatever action that I want people to take. Even in the welcome email itself, there's like a bunch of psychology stuff there. So I try and apply that to my course, and pretty much everything that I do. Even in app design, I don't make any apps, but this morning I was talking to this person who made an app, and I was like, for the ADHD brain, like you need these progress bars, you need these cute little sounds, you need like templates, because if I'm not like pressing buttons, or if it's like not easy for me, then I'm just gonna delete your app. Like I can't. So it's very much psychology based.
That's amazing. And how did you get into, because there's so much I want to hear about here from you too. I love, you and I were talking about this before the show of, I think the ADHD content creation space and like the therapists and therapy and psychologists we're now seeing come to the social internet and sharing that message and bringing people together is like such a unifying and cool experience to watch. Especially as us as marketers. Tell me a little bit about your background in psychology and UX and how you got into that, and maybe like how your journey in ADHD kind of like informed that and like your mission and what you're doing today.
Yeah, I think actually I was in denial about ADHD for so long because I was like, no, I don't have it. Like, I have good grades. What do you mean? Like, I'm so organized. But then I realized after many, many people were like, no, you should look into this. I realized that a lot of the things that kept me organized were actually kind of these systems and coping mechanisms that I built. So for example, when I was in school, I can't just sit down and study, or like I can't sit down in a meeting or a lecture and pay attention. I have to be doing something. So usually I will be taking notes because I don't want to be like distracted on my phone. Like I want to be a good student. So I'll be taking notes, and that's how I focus. When I had to study, I would just record myself going through my notes and all the problems in the homework assignment. And then I'd go for a run or a walk around my neighborhood while listening to my own recording that I made. And then when it was exam time, I would picture myself walking around my neighborhood, and then that kind of like jogs my memory. Another thing that I used was like funny jokes and memes that I would make about my course concepts, and that would also jog my memory. Because honestly, if I don't take notes and if I don't use these tricks, like my memory is really bad, which I think is an ADHD thing. And then like I can't sit down and pay attention. Like I always have to be doing something else, which is an ADHD thing. Like I need to be moving around, going on that walk, another ADHD thing. So every time people are like, Jen, you're so organized, I was like, yeah, actually, it's an ADHD thing.
That's amazing. You have taken that and you've turned it into a superpower. Like, I mean, it sounds like you did that from the moment you were a student. And I've heard this from a lot of friends. I think I just told you before the call, my wife recently got diagnosed with ADHD. It's been an eye-opening experience for her, and the friends who we've seen who in their 30s who have been going to see specialists, and they're like, yeah, this is definitely what's going on here. Because it helps you make so much sense of like what was happening and these behavioral things you're doing, like hearing about how they have similar like anchoring mechanisms for how they were studying in school, like you, like, hey, those are just really great study behaviors, I think, period. Like more people I think should probably record themselves like going through like slide decks or flashcards or like whatever and taking walks to help like physically internalize the information. These are all things that we've seen in studies that are really helpful. But that's so, I love that about your mission, that you're out to help people do that with like the life tracking tools that you have and the courses that you have. And one thing I wanted to ask you about too, because I love talking about like student successes and testimonials. What are some of the coolest stories you've been able to produce from the people who have come to take your courses or done cohorts or coaching with you?
Yeah, so the funniest one was somebody started time tracking 24/7 like me. That's an optional module because it can be too much for some people.
Uh,
But this person did it. And then the funniest time tracking entries ever were just shared with the community. Like this person once had his phone fall into the wall somehow. So one of his time tracked entries is like retrieving phone from wall cavity for like an hour.
he wrote that down. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then some other people were like, they wrote down, like, they tracked taking a stupid walk for my stupid mental health. Like, some people tracked lock in on my business. And it's like, you make it fun.
Uh,
And we're just having fun with it. When you gamify life like that with a fun and supportive community, it just becomes a lot easier to track. Instead of feeling like everything needs to be perfect, I need to like have this time tracking be super professional and things like that. There was also another student who would post these really long entries in the community every day. And she said that she started sharing everything she was learning in her workplace with her coworkers. And her coworkers thought she was a genius. And they also started saving time based on what she was sharing with them. Other people said that like the first week that they took the course was like the first week in a long time that they felt like they were actually living life because they could remember and like actually be intentional about what they were doing. Whereas before it was like just going through the motions, living on default. And now that they know they have to reflect and they thought deeply more about their patterns and limiting beliefs, they were able to like really enjoy life and celebrate their wins and like feel super confident, stand up for themselves, say no to other people, like assert their boundaries and live life on their terms, like taking control of their life. There was one student who messaged me, like she sent me a long email and she was like, before this course, I felt so burnt out and like I just didn't know what to do. And some other students were like, yeah, my ADHD was so bad, you know, but they gave the course a try. And then at the end, they're like, this is like the only course I ever finished. The community was so nice. They felt so empowered. They felt so much hope that they had the tools and skills to deal with whatever difficulties came up in the future.
That is amazing. Like the number and variety of different successes that people are getting from a really cool course. Like that's just amazing to me. Like so here's what I want to learn too. I want to learn more about the course and product itself we can go back into. What kind of daily habits and skills are you helping people build that they're going from like, hey, I feel like I'm just more present in my everyday life, to like funny daily moments of like, hey, I lost my phone and I'm trying to grab it. Tell me a little bit about that process, about how you coach people into tracking and the tools that you give them to do that.
Yeah, so the first day of the course, I have them on this thing called the consistency calendar because it's just so satisfying to see an entire calendar filled up with check marks. And they're supposed to focus on one habit. The easiest habit is just spend the entire month checking the course because every day there's some kind of activity. Some days are really easy. Other days there's like more stuff to do, but it's still fun to do. So that's like the number one thing. And once they're confident in doing that one easy thing every single day, then they can add more stuff like, you know, some people want to go to the gym, some people want to learn more Spanish, so then they'll start adding more habits. The 5 whys analysis was a big one that a lot of people liked. I also teach this thing called the Life North Star metric, which is basically I make them take a values quiz, and then after they narrow down their key values for life, they use that to inform this metric that kind of gives them purpose. It's like their life goal. So some examples, for me, it's number of people positively impacted. For some people, there was a student who said number of stories collected. Somebody said times that I laughed so hard I couldn't breathe. Number of days that I'm genuinely excited to wake up for. So it's like when you start counting and paying attention to that, you just feel so much more purpose. And then week 2, we start tracking this stuff. So like they have a goal and then you break it down into daily habits. And every single week, you're supposed to write down whatever wins that you had. And that makes people feel super confident. And then every month, you reflect on the weekly reflections. And it kind of just builds up like daily reflections to weekly, to monthly, to quarterly, and to yearly. And when you record everything like that, you can look back and be like, wow, I actually spent time in alignment with my goals. Or if you didn't spend it in alignment with your goals, you're like, okay, this is how I can improve for the next week. Because I also use this for myself. Like in May, I kind of stopped doing my reflections because I got too busy or I didn't prioritize it. And the entire month, I was like, I feel like something is off. Like at the end of May, I was like, I'm not having a good time. Like this is not a good month. I was so stressed and busy. I didn't do anything. And then I look at my financials and I look at my reflections because I went back and did them retroactively. And then May was like my best month financially for my business. And then when I look at my weekly reflections, I had like a huge list of wins and just a little bit of my learnings, because in the reflections, I reframe my failures as like, okay, this is something that I learned. What will I do better next time? So when I force myself to reframe like that, I'm thinking like, oh, actually, it was actually a fun month. Like I'm more accurate with my thinking. I changed my mindset, and then that kind of changes my actions for the next month. So I'm not like beating myself up over it. And it's changes like that that kind of make people feel like they live a more fulfilling life.
That's amazing. I Gosh, there's so many cool things in there. I love that you practice what you preach. I don't think there's anything more powerful than hearing from a writer, a course creator who is like, hey, this is literally the system I use, and I'm just going to teach you what works for me. I think there's something so interesting in that too, because we were talking about how your process for marketing is very vibes based, which I think is awesome because it has to be fun and it has to be you and it has to be authentic for it to work. And I love that that is kind of in play with this very analytical process that you have about like tracking your diligence and steps and how those, when they come together, because you said you felt like May wasn't a really productive month. You felt like you were kind of lost or like figuring it out, but then you went back and you looked at the numbers and you were like, wow, actually like my feelings weren't the thing that was on here. Like the data shows like I was very aligned. I was doing well. I have the revenue coming in to show it. And that's a really interesting segue to, gosh, I feel like I've been having this conversation a lot with, friends lately of how do you examine like your thoughts and feelings about something versus like the hard data of what's happening. Because you just described a really interesting shift where you felt lost, looked at the data and you were like, oh my gosh, I'm doing great. Tell me how you think about those things working together.
Yeah, so I know that like humans are evolutionary wired to focus on the negative because that's how we used to survive. So when I do these vibe checks and these reflections and look at the numbers, I'm like, okay, I focus too much on the negative. Like this is kind of I'm coming back to reality and like seeing things as they are instead of letting my biases get in the way. But something that I had to learn a lot in therapy and like learning based on different books is that I tend to do like all or nothing thinking. And with ADHD, there's also rejection sensitivity. So I also feel like maybe it's me just growing up as the eldest daughter in an Asian family, but I tend to be very critical and dismissive of my own emotions. So if I'm feeling upset, like let's say I'm thinking May was not a good month, I did nothing. It's like, well, I have to validate those emotions first, even if they're not accurate, or even if later I'm like, oh, actually, it was a good month. First, I have to be like, it's understandable that I'm upset because there's a story that I read in an ADHD workbook and also that I tell in my course where there's this coach for a little kid. I think his name is Little Johnny in the story, and he's playing baseball. I don't know how baseball works, so I don't know if I'm going to explain this right. But basically, he's playing baseball, and there's two different coaches. In scenario one, there's Coach A, and little Johnny misses hitting the ball and basically like fails. And Coach A is like, dude, that was such an easy hit and you missed it. Like, you're a failure. This sucks. Like, why are you even here? But Coach B is like, hey, it's okay that you missed it. Like, I know that you might be a little disappointed, but like, just kind of adjust your form and like try again next time. I'm sure you'll get it. So Coach B is like so much more encouraging, right? And a lot of my students agreed, like, Coach B is way nicer. Like, what's wrong with Coach A? Why was Coach A even hired? But what we fail to realize is that a lot of the time we talk to ourselves like Coach A, which is kind of self-sabotage. Like, we literally would fire ourselves as our own coach. So why are we talking to ourselves like that? So we need to be more careful about catching ourselves and be more validating and gentle to ourselves and have that internal voice of Coach B instead of Coach A.
You touched on so many great things there in my personal life. And through therapy and through journaling and kind of self-examination, I have a lot of those oldest sibling behaviors that track of like very self-critical, judge myself by a yardstick of my own performance, and my own worst critic. I'm definitely a Coach A. I'm a way worse Coach A to myself than I should be, and I need more Coach B in my life. So I can definitely empathize with a lot of those narratives of like self-criticism. I love what you said about making sure to validate your feeling, even if you're having it. So I imagine you and May, you were like, gosh, wow, like I really feel terrible. I feel kind of lost. I feel like I'm not doing good enough. And then you turning that, and like you said, into a lesson or a learning of like, hey, you know what? Don't be so hard on yourself. Like, let's look into this and see how we can improve. But like, you're doing a great thing and you're moving forward with a really powerful purpose and mission, and you're checking the boxes on the things a lot of people don't do. So I love that internal narrative that you're really focused on building. And it is hard because, like you said, as humans, we are engineered for survival. We're always looking for the thing that can hurt us or embarrass us or where we're not good enough, but we're not looking at the 100 things that we might have done right that week, which is why habit tracking and life tracking is so powerful. I was going to ask you tell me about your reflection process. Cause we were even messaging before this and you said, you had your half marathon, which you ran this weekend, which is super awesome. And then you also blocked out some reflection time. Tell me what your reflection time is like and how often you do it. What does that exercise look like?
Yeah, so right now it's end of June, so it's a special time. I had to do my end of week reflections, end of month reflections, and end of quarter reflections. So I had to do all of that pretty much in one day. And the end of week ones, I do every week. So it's like pretty normal to me. I just write my wins, my losses, what I can learn, what I want to do for next week. So like my weekly intentions. And then the monthly ones, I go back and look at all the weekly reflections and I write down pretty similar like learnings, wins, things I'm proud of, and just like what I want to take with me for the next month or like my intentions for the next month. For quarterly, I had to look through like all the different months. And if I didn't do any of this, I would have been like, oh, I feel like I wasted my entire quarter. Like I didn't launch new courses like I wanted to, like I didn't do this and I didn't do that. But then when I look at my monthly reflections from the last 3 months, I was like, wait, actually, this is how I spent my time. It's not like I wasted my time. Like I was just doing other stuff. I was marathon training. I spent a lot of time with friends. And I look at all the memories that I made and I'm like, actually, this is worth it. Like what's actually important to me, I did end up accomplishing. And there was this book that I was reading and it talked about the metrics of success because there was this guy who was kicked out of a band. So he spent his entire life aiming to be better than that band. That was his metric of success. And he actually founded another band that was pretty famous. It was Megadeth. Like they sold like a lot of concerts and records and stuff. But then he always felt like a failure because the band he was comparing to was Metallica. And then there was another band, the Beatles, who they had a drummer, but they kicked him out and they got Ringo Starr instead. And the drummer was like trying all these new musical projects, but none really took off. So he was like so depressed and upset. But then he met his wife and had kids. And then he looking back, he's like, you know what? I'm glad I got kicked out of the Beatles because his metric of success changed. Like he didn't want to be better than them anymore. He wanted just to, spend time with his family. So that's why I get people to be very clear about their life North Star metric, because then you might stop worrying about things that you don't really care about.
That's amazing. I love those examples. I think who was it that talked about? Was it Mark Manson? I think the author who talked about both of those. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I love those examples. Yeah. The North Star metric is so important because it's so like life is so multifaceted, right? It's like you have friends, you have family, you have work, you have your career. You as a creator or working or a writer, you have side projects, you've got bills you got to pay. You have a pile, like we all have a pile of adult responsibilities. How and I guess like when you're bringing people through your course or even for yourself, what do people end up choosing as their North Star metric? I'm interested to hear some of like the commonalities or like differences in how people choose that. And what's the definition too, or how would you define the North Star metric?
Yeah, for me, it's just something that you can measure your life by. So like when you're on your deathbed, you look back and you're like, okay, when I maximize this, like this is how I know that I've lived a life I'm proud of. A lot of people, they care about helping other people in community, but the way that it shows in their life North Star metric is like alignment within themselves, because you can't really help other people until you like fill your own cup. So you can't constantly like give yourself to others because I think others can tell that the energy is not there or like, you're stretched too thin. So some North Star metrics are around like, number of days where I acted in ways that felt aligned with my values. So a lot of it is around like alignment with values, not stretching yourself too thin. That's how a lot of people burn out. They end up giving too much of themselves to others. So they come into my course wanting better boundaries, and I have Notion templates and exercises for that as well. And I feel like that's their way of kind of helping other people and helping the world, because you can't really do that unless you have alignment within yourself first.
That's amazing. So you basically have them boil it down to like, hey, here's a goal or here's a value I have, like a core, like motivational, emotional, psychological driver for them as a person. Then you break it down into like, hey, these are the actions that the person would do to become that, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. I wanted to ask you about too, because kind of tying back into why I think a lot of listeners are here, and I think they're going to be taking a lot away from this conversation, all the wisdom and knowledge that you've shared here. If you had to give tips and advice to new creators, like there's as you well know, and it sounds like a lot of people have been through your course, there's a ton of people who are scared or embarrassed or fearful or don't think they have something unique or special to share online, but they want to make something. Like what's the advice that you would give to that person?
I think the number one thing that helped me the most was just having fun with it. Because once I stopped taking it as seriously, that's when my work's TikTok started taking off. Like, I used to think I needed to have a whole script. So I was like reading it off the script and it was very robotic. So it didn't really work. And I was like, okay, nobody's watching my account right now. Like, who's gonna care? I have 0 followers. So I just started posting random memes, trends, filters. And then I got more and more comfortable with it because I was like, okay, this is fun. I can make like 10 videos a day. And that's how I got more confident and better at my video editing, where we eventually went viral.
That's amazing. So I'm hearing a lot here too of like, hey, go ahead and post it because A, not that many people are paying attention. So you can just kind of like that. That's how I felt too. I was super nervous to start posting on LinkedIn early last year. And I actually had the experience of I hit post and I had to close my laptop and walk away from that in my phone because I was like, this is just so embarrassing at what I just did. And then of course I opened up my phone, I think like later that night. And I think people expect they're going to get a lot of criticism and grief and people being like, oh my gosh, well, look, now Jack is posting or doing something. And everybody was so nice and everybody was so supportive. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I think ripping the Band-Aid with that first piece of content is so important for people. And then, yeah, like you said, there's this freedom and kind of liberation you have. And like, I'm just going to throw a lot at the wall and see what and if anything sticks because nobody's paying attention. You might get 10 impressions on a post or 15 impressions. But the upside of creating content and reaching other people and helping them is just wild. Like it's unfathomable. It's so cool to hear about your journey and how many people you've created a positive impact with. But I think people also need to scale it back down and think like, even if my post is seen by 2 people or 1 person and it makes a positive impact on them, that is a really amazing goal to have. Because like you just mentioned somebody in your course who they were doing their tracking and they were talking about it at work. And then they had a huge impact on other people they were talking about it with. So you never know, like when a single post you have or a video that you create or a short that you have or something is going to have like a positive effect on somebody. What are you going back into like insecurities that people have? Are some of the ones that I mentioned kind of the most common ones that stop people from doing the creator, like writer, putting themselves online track?
Yeah, I think not having time or like not making time is a big one as well. But I was also going to suggest having a community is, I think, a bit of an unfair advantage because when I started posting and when my friends started posting, we would just comment on each other's posts. Like I would have post notifications on and like favorite them. So they always show up on my feed and we just comment and support each other so that even if we get hate comments or like comments that we might get a little insecure about, we have that community of other people who have your back, who will support you. And that makes such a difference. And it actually helps you stay a lot more consistent.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, community is a really under-leveraged thing. I think there's a quote, I hope I don't misattribute it, but I think it might be James Clear of like, if you want to make a habit change in your life, just go join a community where doing that habit is like a normal thing. And then it will become a normal thing in your life. I think that's so powerful. So joining community is great. And say, because I'm sure you have this all the time. This is something that I try to address a lot in my content too, because I know people really feel the strain of time. I know we lose a lot of time in doom scrolling and streaming too much at night and all this stuff. But say I came to you and I was a brand new creator and I was like, Jennifer, I'm really nervous about doing this, but I know that in 10 years, if I don't do this, it's going to be the biggest regret of my life that I didn't take a full leap into the creator economy or solopreneurship. I actually probably can only dig 20 or 30 minutes a day out of my schedule. I have social media profiles. They're like not active. I'm just using them to like scroll on or subscribe to people. With that 20 or 30 minutes a day, like let's say, 5 days a week, what would you recommend that I do? What would the steps be?
Okay. 20 to 30 minutes is a lot of time. I thought you were going to say like 5 minutes because that's what I start with for my
Well, let's do
students.
that. I think that's a great exercise. So let's say 5 or 10 minutes. I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would do is like while you're showering or when you're brushing your teeth, because everybody does that every day, right? Or like almost every day. So while you're there, just think about stuff that you're excited about that you want to post. So it's like you already have half the work done. All you have to do to finish that work is turn on the camera. And you don't even need to post anything, or like you can post it, but like on private or like on an account that nobody knows about. You don't even have to share with your friends or family unless they're very supportive. It's literally just like you can record a 2-second video of your face or like from your day and then just slap some text on screen based on the idea that you were thinking about while you were showering or brushing your teeth. So my friend actually did something similar, except she built it up from that really small, easy video to fully edited. Like she's talking to the screen. She has a green screen behind her. And she grew to like 20K TikTok followers because every single night she was just putting out these posts. And it took her probably less than 30 minutes. For me, I'd start with like 5 minutes. Like, let's say 1 minute you're brushing your teeth and you're thinking of the idea. The second minute, you're turning on the camera and just like filming a 2-second video of some scenery on your desk or like even just your face. And then you put some text on screen. TikTok automatically puts an audio on it, and then you press post. Like sometimes I don't even put a caption. I just press post. That's done. That's like less than 5 minutes. You don't even have to edit. That's where I would start. And then once you get into that, you'll find it becomes easier and easier to take action, and it'll be more fun. Because like if I think content creation is fun, I'm gonna spend like more than 5 minutes on it because I'll just be yapping to the camera. I'm like so excited about the video that I'm making. I'm excited to see what people will say when I post it. So I will be dedicating the time. But I didn't get there until like I kind of got over that fear. And the way to do that is by making it super, super easy. Just like a few minutes of a recording and then just press and post.
That is probably no exaggeration, the best and simplest breakdown of building a video creation engine that I've ever heard of. Think about an idea while you're taking a shower, brushing your teeth, or doing something normal. Just whip open your phone kind of without thinking about it. Take the video. What would you recommend people start with, like lengthwise? I'm personally not a TikTok user. I'm on all the other platforms, but like if somebody was doing TikTok or anything else, what's like the minimum effective length you would recommend for people to just kind of get into the habit? Or would you have one? Would you say like, hey, if you feel like talking for 10 seconds, talk for 10 seconds. If you feel like talking for 5 minutes, do that. What would your advice be there?
Yeah, it can just be whatever length people find is manageable. I'd say like if you're really looking for a number, let's say like 7 seconds. I think that's a good amount. I did see a TikTok video of somebody who wanted to practice their public speaking skills. So they just sat there in front of a camera for I think a whole minute because they're like, I'm gonna speak for 1 minute every single day and see if I can improve. And that video went viral. Everybody was so supportive. They're like, you inspired me to improve my public speaking, or like giving tips, saying like, oh, maybe you can cut out the filler words here by like just pausing instead of saying the filler word. And I think that's like kind of the vibe that we want. So it can be a whole minute if you want. Just set a challenge for yourself. Like treat it like an experiment. Like 30 days, I'm going to spend at least 7 seconds making a video every day. And there's ways you can make it fun or challenging. Like I made this automation for one of my students where every single night at 7 p.m., their camera is just going to open and start recording. So it's like they have to be ready. Otherwise, the camera is just going to start. And by the time it starts, it's like, okay, now they have to record. It makes the action a lot easier. And then they just post.
That's amazing. I love the idea of a force system will make creativity come out of you. Like there's a great quote from a writer about that of like, I don't like I don't believe in finding motivation, or I do believe in motivation. It hits me when I sit down at my desk every morning at like 8 or 9 a.m. or something like that. Like if you know you have a slot that you have to do something, and something as intense as like this thing is going to automatically start recording whether I have an idea or not, ideas will come to you. I'm super curious to hear. I want to jump back to, so you recommended to a friend to just practice this like minimum viable system for video creation. Because people will be interested too about like how, like the period of time it took her to hit 20,000 followers on TikTok. Was she doing that for like a month, 2 months, 3 months? How many videos had she posted before she kind of like hit that inflection point, kind of like you did?
I think she posted almost daily for 6 months.
Hmm.
And her video, it was in the finance niche. So we were in
It's cool.
multiple different niches. And her style is very different. So like my style is very much like high energy, like showing unhinged, chaotic stuff. So when those videos go viral, I noticed that I like the view to follow conversion rate can be up to 1%. So like there was one video I posted that had 1 million views and I got 44,000 followers from that. But for different niches, it might be different. And then for different content, it would be different. And that's why I'm like, you need to treat it like an experiment, because when you're very curious about the result, you're more likely to stay consistent and keep posting, because you're like, okay, I wonder how many followers I can get from this post or this post. And it's like, you have to post in order to find out the result.
I think you're spot on there. Like there are times, and I've had this conversation recently with other friends from LinkedIn, of you almost have to divorce yourself from the idea of metrics in the beginning. And you're just like, hey, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to do it for fun and I'm going to see what happens and I'm going to be curious about the results. And if something flops, I'll be like, well, is this not an interesting topic or did I not present it in an interesting way? But I love that this kind of goes back to your thinking and framing of there's not wins and losses. There's wins, but you're mostly just kind of like learning in the early days of like, you might find, I mean, I found this for myself. Like I've spent 2 or 3 hours on a carousel or a thread or a long form piece of content sometime. And it's like not crickets, but it's like, well, this is just okay. So like my engagement ROI on it wasn't that great. And then I've had some where like I'm in between like sets or machines in the gym and like I just punch something up in 15 minutes and I'll post it and people really resonate with it. So I think that's something I would piggyback off of your advice on, like your amazing minimum effective like video creation system, is I would encourage people to focus less on time spent per post and focus more about, like, to use a basketball analogy, just like shots on goal or like reps. Just like focus on, if you're going to focus on something, focus on building the habit first. Like you said, just do one a day. Take less than 5 minutes to build like a TikTok video creation habit, or less than 10 minutes to just like write something. And when you get comfortable, focus on capturing more of those ideas and posting more frequently. Cause I think you learn faster that way versus like, oh, because I come from the blog writing world and SEO. It's like pieces of content can take hours to put out there. But yeah, what do you think about all that? Like reps versus quality and length and like all that. How do you think about that when you're creating content?
I think you can be very creative about it as long as you recognize there are a lot of limiting beliefs that you
Mm.
have to get over yourself. Like you are your own worst enemy. So here's an example. When I was marathon training at the very start, now I run like 1 to 2 hours every day. But at the very start, it was very, very difficult for me. I was like, I can't, like, it's rainy. I don't want to go outside. Like, I can't go for a run. I just do it tomorrow. And then the marathon would be here and I would suffer. So this time I was like, something's got to change. Like, I don't want to suffer like that anymore. Like, I need to go for a run. So on my training plan, it was like run for 20 minutes. But I didn't, like, it was dark outside. I didn't want to go out, you know. So what I did instead was in my basement or my living room, I would just like run around in circles while kind of like going on my phone. It was like a very slow run, walk, jog, but it was done. So I was like, oh, in the past, I would have been like, oh, I can't do this because it's like rainy, it's dark. You know, I don't want to change into my running clothes. But I was literally in my pajamas running in circles around my living room. And then the run was done. And I felt great after. So it's like, you have to realize you're getting in your own way. So it's just kind of getting rid of those limiting beliefs and being more creative.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I think, gosh, you have shared so much wisdom on this and actionable pieces for, I think, anybody to take from this. And if somebody wanted to walk away from this conversation and like start their TikTok channel tonight, which I hope a lot of people do, or their Instagram, or start posting on LinkedIn or doing video content somewhere. I really appreciate your time, Jennifer. This has been awesome. If you had any closing pieces of advice, thoughts for writers or new creators, people who are getting in their own way in their head, what would that be before we sign off today?
I think just focusing on having fun, and then the rest will come, because everything is just vibes for me.
I love it. I love it. Focus on vibes, focus on fun, and the rest will come. I think you're right, because if you don't like the process of the thing that you're doing toward your goal, you're not going to stick to it. And I'm sure you've been there and I've been there, of where I made myself do things, work-wise, project-wise, entrepreneurial-wise, that I wasn't having fun with. And sure, like if you're really disciplined, you might be able to stick it out for 3 months or 6 months or 2 years or a few years like I did. But if it becomes a grind and you're not happy with it, or if it is in the beginning, then I think you need to change something. I think you need to have fun with it and look more in the vibes and the fun than like the work and business and analytical aspect. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on today. I was so excited about this conversation. I'm so excited to see what everybody takes away from it. And thank you. And we'll talk to you soon. I'll see you on LinkedIn.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of It Pays to Write. If you enjoyed this show, please be sure to like and subscribe on all the platforms we're on, currently on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Substack. And I've got something extra special for you listeners of this episode today. If you're thinking about taking the plunge with writing, I have a free 5-day email course that'll get you started with AI and digital writing online, whether you want to start your own blog or if you want to write on LinkedIn or another social media platform. This is a free course just for you to dip your toes into writing online. You can get that course for free by signing up at aiwritingroadmap.com. That's aiwritingroadmap.com. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode.